How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Oh man, it's uh it's interesting with the whole COVID stuff, right? Going on.
Life is upside down.
So how's it affected you personally?
I feel like I kind of self quarantined early just because I was kind of paranoid. I do massage for a living, so obviously, like, it's very close, um,
Mhm.
touching people on top of people. So I kind of didn't want to like accidentally, transmit it to people. It's obviously going way longer than I thought. So, like,
Sure.
the first month, I was chilling. I was in a prep, so it was pretty easy to, fully focus because then you're like, wow, everything is out of the way.
Mhm.
But now shows are canceled, and the novelty of being able to stay home has kind of worn off. So
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because like initially everybody was like staying at home and everything, and I don't know if it's so where you before I go on, where are you located at?
I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. So I don't know like the stats on North Carolina or Charlotte, but here, like I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, and at first everybody was like at home listening. And I think it's getting to the point now where people are like, oh, I'm not going to, this is like too much. So
Survive.
yeah,
Yeah.
so they're like all going out, but the virus is still there. So I'm like, oh, it's going to start increasing again if everybody doesn't
Yes. Well, and that's
quarantine.
the thing too. It's just like everyone took it seriously, like you said, and it was still increasing. And I think that's just because we didn't really know anything that was going on.
Mhm.
Um, everything that we were being told is just skewed. I don't. I'm not saying it's like intentional. It's just it was hard to find information anywhere. I feel like
Sure.
I was finding most of my info through like Instagram, which kind of sucks. Um, but then everyone's taking it serious. Everyone's staying home. But then first month passes and everyone has like rent, bills to pay,
Right.
food still needs to be eaten, and then everyone's stocking up. So I think everyone was in the same boat where grocery bills were exponentially higher than usual too, because you don't
Sure.
know. Um, so yeah, then I think everyone starts kind of like getting tighter in the wallet department, getting bored. So now like, and then people, like you said, they get used to it being around, so they're not taking it as serious. It's like, let's hang out with friends because we're bored and we have nothing to do. Or I don't know, my town, there's still like people going out to like Walmart and parks all the time.
Right. Yeah, it's the same way here. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and I'm not going to name who it is, but I really like the guy's podcast. But he was basically just saying, "Oh, well, it's not a big deal because like all the numbers are going down." And I'm not sure if the numbers are going down. They might be, but if they are, it's probably because of these like stipulations that were put, in place because we don't have a vaccine yet. Like there's still not like anything that is, bringing it,
But
like
here's the thing, even
curing
with the
it.
vaccine, aren't there like multiple strands anyways? So it's kind
Yeah,
of like,
yeah. So he's like, oh well, the numbers are going down. Well, they're going down because people are trying to stay in, at least for the most part. It's like as soon as you open everything back up again, it's gonna increase again. So it's one of those things. But I do get it, like because it's like the economy is kind of crushed. Nobody.
yep, prolonging it though does not really help that. So it's like if we get a little bit better, take a couple steps forward to take 10 back,
Yeah,
now we're stuck in a worse problem. And I
sure.
saw like a really good analogy today. Actually, my coach's wife, Brittany Jones, she's a doctor.
Hmm.
So obviously she's kind of like way, she's closer into everything than we are. But her analogy today was just like opening the economy too early it's like the equivalent of starting a prescription antibiotic and then stopping it just because you feel better and not running the course. Now you're stuck with a bigger problem after by resuming things prematurely.
Sure, and that's actually a great analogy. Yeah, I never even thought about that. But yeah, they always tell you, oh well, take your antibiotics the entire whatever 7 days. If even if you start feeling better, continue on. Because it's
And you
a
mutate.
recovery. Yeah, it's a recovery
Yeah.
process. So and it's like I think. I think there's a balance because we do get a lot of like misinformation too, right? Like I've heard bunches of different numbers and I'm like, okay, well, which one is
Yeah.
true? Like, what is going on? But so you got to be careful about not being like panicking, but at the same time, you can't assume
Gotta be
that
smart.
everything is fine, because it's not fine,
Well, that's
So
what I always say. It's like, okay, I don't know what the numbers are, and quite honestly, I don't care. The numbers are different all the time, and it's not like they're testing everyone, but we
sure,
know it's a real problem. I mean, and no matter what your stance is, whether it's like man-made, natural, bat-made, whatever, doesn't matter. It's going on. It's an issue. The economy is shut down. Like it could be totally made up, but the issues stemming from it are very real.
yeah, yeah. I was, I don't know if you're familiar with Dave Palumbo and Chris
Yeah.
Aceto, but I was listening to their podcast, and Chris was saying that like where he was, there was only like I think like some small, relatively small number of infected, but you can't get a test. So who knows if there's a lot more? You can't. There's no like they don't
Most
have
people
tests.
don't even show symptoms, and that's the problem of like going out too, is like, okay, sure, like you and I might be fine, but I could be carrying it and giving it to like my roommate's grandma, you know what I
Sure.
mean? Like
Yeah.
that's not fine. My friend,
Yeah.
she was having a wedding, kind of when all this started, and everyone decided to not go, which sucks, but because you only have one wedding really, hopefully. um
Yeah. Hopefully.
but I was just like, well, I'm not gonna like get on a plane, go to Florida, and then like kill your family and your grandparents, which is probably like a little dramatic, but
But it could be very real.
yeah.
Yeah, it could be very real. It's like it sounds dramatic, but if you had it and you passed it on, um, I mean, it could be a very real situation. So yeah, it's tough. So how did you get into, to get away a little bit from the morbid subject matter? How did you get into like massaging and all that? Is that kind of like what you always wanted to do, or
No, well, I know it's not that I didn't really know about massage as a career, I guess. So, oh my gosh, I'm not good at half-assing things, and I'm not good at doing things that I'm not fully like interested in. And then on the opposite, and I think a lot of us can relate as bodybuilders who are kind of extremists, but things that you're into, you're super into.
hmm
So, growing up, I was always like, I want to help people, but that was like the ambiguous, that's what everyone says. Like, you want to help dogs, kids, or people,
Sure.
doctor. So, fast forward, we get to college, went to UCF in Florida. Um, I got my bachelor's in health sciences, but by senior year, you're just kind of like, all right, well, what kind of grad school am I going to go to? I don't fully believe in anything that I'm learning. Not that medical isn't great. It's just a lot of the ideologies I didn't really like line up with, and like big pharma and stuff.
hmm
And so then I just kind of finished, and I was like, well, I don't really know what to invest a ton of money in. So then I graduated. My ex-boyfriend, he was living up here in North Carolina. So I was like, well, what's a better time to relocate? I don't have no career, like whatever. So I came up, I coached CrossFit for a while because I was really into that, and Olympic lifting for a good minute.
hmm
And so then in coaching that, I got into mobility work, a lot of just like helping my athletes just for fun. I was like, I'm not a doctor or anything by any means, but if we stretch this, if we like foam roll this and lacrosse ball that. And I had a great book called Becoming a Supple Leopard. And I know a lot of bodybuilders aren't super into
Reading.
CrossFit.
Oh.
Well, on that note, though, it is mostly a picture book.
Okay.
So for
So
all you
maybe a
non-readers
lot of
out
people
there,
will look at it.
yeah, well, and so it's really cool. It teaches you how to it breaks down your whole body into like good movement patterns so you don't keep, aggravating things and fixing. So I started playing with people, and, I would play with shoulders, and they're just like, wow, like doctors were like saying I need surgery, but this is great.
Yeah.
Um, so then I kind of I worked for a chiropractor for a little. They were going to put me into school for massage to work for them. So that's kind of how the thought got started. They bailed, and my ex, he was like, well, I think you'd be good at it, so we're going to put you in school anyways. So
Mm.
yeah, now here I am, and I love it, and it's cool because I tied into like bodybuilding. Most of my clients are bodybuilders,
Sure.
um, and it's great because again, on the extremist route, I get to work on my population all the time. I get to I get the instant gratification of like fixing their posing and, you know, fixing imbalances that maybe people thought were just like, oh, a smaller lat. It's usually not. Um, so yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. That like because for bodybuilders, especially when you're putting your, your body through so much tear and where lifting weights like that recovery, or any athlete really, it's not just bodybuilders, but that recovery is so important. Like, what would you suggest as far as like the deep tissue and stuff? Do you think like once a week, more than once a week, is as much as you can? I mean,
You know, there is such thing as too much. I would think if you're going regularly in a perfect world, if like finances and time weren't an issue, like
sure.
once a week is great. And that
Hmm.
way you could also like prioritize too. It's one of those where it's like, oh, my upper body feels terrible now, or like my legs. A lot of my clients around here, there's a lot of men's physique. So waist up is like what a lot of them end up getting done because it's like the
Hmm.
whole V taper. Bodybuilders, they end up wanting to like split like upper and lower body. But yeah, like once a week in a perfect world, that's good because you got to remember we're all about consistency. So, and most of us aren't just doing 1-a-days in the gym; we're doing 2-a-days.
Hmm.
So, you know, with all of that wear and tear, if you aren't recovering, and I suck at recovery, so I'm preaching to the choir here. Um, but you know, the more you're able to recover, the better you'll be able to perform. And the more I've gotten into massaging, the more I realize how important it is. Like I said, I'm no good with recovery. I need to be better all the time. I've done a lot of that this quarantine, actually.
Mm.
But your fascia and your tissues, I always give the analogy, it's like you're growing, it's like growing in a glass box, you know? So if your tissues are tight, it's like the equivalent of smushing your face on a glass window. Everything, your face is the same, but it's distorted behind this
Mhm.
glass. Your lines aren't as deep. Everything gets like smushed together, and then you're not functioning as well because instead of the muscles firing how they want to, they're kind of like operating as like, you know, masses together. Posing
Yeah.
gets hard, we rotate, and then as we go, we might not notice these things, but every rep that we do, it's one more rep adding to your imbalance.
Mm.
So then, you know, just by getting a massage, lines look deeper, you get better blood flow just because the muscles are able to like settle in and they're not
Mhm.
being trapped.
I mean, I'm sure it's also like as time goes on, you develop like scar tissue and things of that nature. So that like I'm sure work out those kind of things. I know you were talking about shoulders. I mean, a lot of people have shoulder problems, scar tissue in shoulders, and all kinds of
Well, it's
stuff like that.
interesting. A lot of shoulder stuff really comes from like our bicep tendon because that kind of tucks in under the shoulder.
Hmm.
And we don't know that, you know, so then we have like all this issue going straight from here, your bicep, your front delt, pecs tie in. That's why we get a lot of like the rounded forward. Um,
So is that's kind of where you might have a problem like somewhere else, like in wherever, and then but it like displays itself in another area of the body. Is
that's
that
actually
you?
usually the case. Yeah, my
Hmm.
people, they usually just come in and they're like, I don't know, man, you tell me what's wrong. Like this hurts, but I know it's not that. And
Hmm.
usually they tell me like their back hurts and I start them face up anyways because everything in the front, this is, I mean, obviously it's not everyone. It's not one size fits all,
Right.
but we're so forward dominant. We bench, you know, we sit in a chair, like even looking at you, we're just sitting like this and
Yeah.
myself, we're very tight here. So then
Yeah.
this gets tight. The muscles in your back, they're getting stretched forward. So now we feel all that tension back there.
Sure. Sure.
So then everyone's like, oh, my back hurts. And yeah, because everything here is tugging on it.
That makes
So
sense. What do you think about you being in this field? What do you think about the equipment, some of the equipment that's been coming out recently? Like, personally, like it's quite expensive, but a lot of people support them. Those guns that are very powerful, like they're almost like tools. What do you think about that? Like as a
people do use the
professional?
tool versions.
Oh, they
Um,
just okay.
yeah, you could get like the I think it's like the jigs. I don't know about power tools, but like the jigsaw thing, and like they have like little attachments you could order on Amazon.
Huh? Interesting.
I would be speaking without experience if I gave an actual opinion on the Theragun because I have not used one. I'm very
Hmm.
particular to my hands are my favorite tools.
Hmm.
Um, I like to just like touch things, feel things. Um, I do think that the tools are good as opposed to nothing. Obviously,
Okay.
just like anything else, there's too much of anything. Like you could damage the tissue if you're going too hard in one spot.
Mhm.
And if it's already injured, for example, and you're just kind of like hammering it away, it's not going to help. But it's good for tenderizing. I would say, pre-lift, if you have like tight pecs, for example, I think it would probably be a good idea to like loosen this up before you get better blood flow. Your muscles are like separated more. The looser the tissues are before you lift, the more the muscle will expand with blood each rep. The
Mm.
more blood you'll be able to get into the muscle each rep. So each rep is going to be more productive.
Okay. So,
So
but
I
it's
do think that
go
I
ahead.
don't
I'm
know
sorry.
that it will like solve your problem at home, especially if you don't know where the problem is coming from, which is most of the time. Um, but I do think it has its purpose. Like I think it can help. I think it um, makes your workouts better and probably helps with recovery, but I don't think it'll fix you.
Right. So it sounds like it's only like a small portion of massage, like because I mean, I guess when you're using your hands, you're not just pounding like that machine is. You're doing other things, manipulating in
Mhm.
other ways. This, the thing.
You stretch, you
Right.
compress. And even with massage, I mean, you learn every day. So I even, sometimes all my clients have really tough tissue. So a lot of pressure is good, but then there are other times where certain muscles, they just kind of need a little bit of lighter loving.
Mhm.
Sometimes if you go too hard, the muscle actually flexes back because it's a protective mechanism no matter what. So if you're like pounding away at an injured body part, of course your body's going to be like, get out.
Yeah. 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 That
Because
makes
like I think
sense.
we've all had like, I did give pretty freaking good pressure. Like you're kind of dancing the line, but I think we've all had like the massage where they're trying to like show you up and they just kind of like grab too hard and you're
Hmm.
just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
counterproductive. You're flexing, you're fighting the massage. And yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, you were talking about pressure. I had a massage one time with it was this tiny, tiny little Asian woman. But if you did not know what that she was that tiny, you would think you had like a gorilla on your back. Like she was so strong with her massage,
It's
and
always the small ones that get you.
yeah, I was very surprised. It was like the first one I've ever gotten, and it was like, oh, okay, that's
Sounds
pretty
like you lucked
interesting.
out because I've gotten through quite a few massages where I'm just laying there and by the end of it, I was like, this was an oily and expensive rub down. Like,
Yeah.
like I feel like I've been like waiting so long to have like that kind of pressure and you got it on your first massage.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was interesting. My wife actually got it for me, and she was like, "Go try it out," and I did, and yeah, this woman was amazing.
I hope you kept your info.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I haven't. So I found another place, but they were also good, so it worked out. What do you think about those? And I just saw it on somebody's. I think Kayla had it on her stories. Kayla,
Okay.
but maybe somebody else. But those steel pieces of equipment that people use, like I don't know how to explain it. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're like steel, like bent, almost like half
Are
of a
they like the
circle.
smaller, like the metal tools?
Yeah, yeah, and then people rub them, like rub the muscle with it. I mean, there's a variety of them.
Are they
But
like the thinner metal tools? They kind of look like they're scraping it.
yeah, yeah, they look like they're scraping the fascia and all that. So
Okay,
what do you
those
think
are
about that?
really cool. I do think, obviously, just like everything else, and just like the guns, I think some medical practitioners go overboard with it. I've had people that too much, like it almost looks like no method to the madness, where they'll just like rub you raw and they try to bruise you, as opposed to that just being a byproduct of
Hmm.
loosening the tissue. There's a
Hmm.
difference, hurting the tissue versus like getting the coloration to come up, separating the fascia. But that is great, especially for like, bodybuilders. We're so tight, we're so stiff, everything is so hard. That's just a faster way to like loosen it up. I
Interesting.
like to use
Hmm.
that to like help me get in deeper with my hands, because usually I'm getting in like I'm digging in your lines, in your armpit. I'm
Hmm.
in awkward grooves where I can't even necessarily like stick a Theragun or a metal
Right.
tool. But that being said, to loosen everything around it, like ribs,
Hmm.
serratus, lats, they're awesome.
Cool. Yeah, cool. They look cool. They look like they look like they'll work. I mean, it's just like straight steel,
They're
but
intimidating. They're fun.
yeah, but it sounds like somebody that needs to know what they're doing, needs to use them, not just some random person that's like, "Hey, let me rub this steel on you."
If you're just gonna let a random person whip out like a big, scary looking piece of metal. You're a
Yeah.
brave soul anyways.
Oh man. So how did you get into competing itself? Like when did you start doing that?
Bodybuilding. I started bodybuilding in 2016. I used to do CrossFit since like 2012 and Olympic lifting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I hurt my wrist. And my ex at the time, he was a coach. He's actually Kayla's coach.
Okay.
And so I was already doing 2 days for CrossFit, and I hurt my wrist real bad. It still hurts like 5 years later.
Mm.
And he was like, well, you're already like doing 2 days. You're already eating 6 meals a day. Everyone's starting their prep. Why don't you just mock prep? Then you could keep training and, still be an athlete, but work around your wrist injury where you're on your wrist all the time to bodybuilding where you can work around it. I'm not good at half-assing, so I dove into my first figure prep and made my own suit and everything. It was fun. I just liked all of it, and it was way
Made your
different
own
than I
suit.
thought. Yeah, because I've always been crafty, and I was just like, I don't want to pay someone to do that. Like, I feel like I could do it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that to say that it's easy, because by all means, like, stoning over 2,000 crystals onto, like, fabric is
Yeah, they
not
look
easy.
very intricate. Like there's
Yeah.
yeah.
It takes a specific person to sit there and do that. But so, I kind of like dove right in. I did my first figure show. I didn't place as well as I wanted, not because I didn't look great. My body was not suited for figure.
Mm-hmm.
So jumped up to women's physique 2 weeks later and did like my second show in that and did way better. I've always joked kind of that it was love at first front double bicep, because that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
So then that was it. I kind of bit the bug there. And then in 2017, I got my pro card at Junior USA. And yeah.
So you love the posing aspect of it. I mean, figure they pose, but not in the same way, So
I really liked, yes, the pretty feminine muscle. I liked that. I liked the women that were able to like showcase it elegantly and femininely. I think that's an art. And
Mhm.
I love figure, don't get me wrong. I love the body type, but the thing is, and I think a lot of girls run into the issue, males too, you get hung up on a division and then you don't see that it is not what your genetics are made for. And
Yeah.
you're going to forever hate yourself and be dissatisfied if you're trying to fight your genetics. It's one thing to add a little muscle here, a little muscle there, but I will never have a figure frame. So I think just after like the first show, I was just like, okay, like I'm not cut out for figure. Like I placed lower than girls that were less muscular and less conditioned just because my legs were huge.
Hmm.
So that is what it is. I can never be bikini. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So fighting your genetics is just not, no bueno.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they have so many divisions now too that like, I mean, anyone can pretty much fit anywhere. As far as
Which is
structural.
great, actually. And people just need to
Yeah.
like actually open their eyeballs and get an honest coach to tell them like,
Yeah.
I know you want to do bikini, but girl, you might be better for something else. Or,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's been a while since I've discussed this point because almost all the podcasts are so engulfed now with conversation of the virus. But what do you think about? Do you feel that like all the divisions are now getting like harder and bigger? Like, did you get
Yes.
that feeling?
Yes.
Yeah, it look
I
the
kind
bit.
of, I,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you go.
I was gonna say even the bikini girls, which the only reason I'm picking them is because they're the smallest of all the
I gotta
divisions.
say, I am a fan of muscular bikini, but obviously
Mhm.
I'm biased to girls with muscle.
Yeah, I mean, well, me too, because I mean, if it's anybody, men or women, I mean, the sport is based upon muscle, so it's like, well, how much muscle is relative depending on your division, but I mean, but if it's just the bikini division with no muscularity, then it's similar to like a, Miss America pageant or something like
Diet
to that
contest.
effect. Yeah, diet contest. There you go.
And, a lot of times it does fall into that, which kind of frustrates me, because I do think that building the body and then dieting it, like that's the full art, not just dieting. I feel like, you know, you miss a big part of the sport is like building it. You got to build it
Sure.
up to cut it down. And I think a lot of people are kind of missing the whole building part.
Yeah, yeah. They're you know, they're bringing in. We'll see what happens with all the everything, but they're bringing in the wellness, you know, division. So, what do you think about that?
Love it.
Love it. Yeah, I
Love
thought it
it.
was a great idea.
Well, so here's my thoughts. I'm probably going to be a little biased towards it, but I mean, my family's Brazilian, so I've always kind of run into the whole bottom heavy situation, like I said. So,
Hmm.
in addition to having like huge legs and hips, I have never had long clavicles, which sounds stupid at first. Like when my ex used to tell me, like, your clavicles are short, I was like, what are you talking about? Um, but as far as like frames and muscularity go, like I'm very limited to how wide I can get. It doesn't matter how big I grow my delts, which I think anyone that has followed me knows I get pretty prominent delts. Not right now, I haven't been hitting them, but
Hmm.
I
Right.
get prominent delts. You're still limited by your bone structure, which is like the hanger
Sure.
of your muscles, you know? So being that I had legs and hips and narrow clavicles, that's kind of sucky for a V taper, which
Yeah.
that's where my that limited me in women's physique. Without training legs, I was still outsizing my upper and, you know.
Hmm.
Um, so girls like that, obviously my arms are too big for wellness now, but I'm just saying girls with that situation where you will never have small legs and your clavicles aren't necessarily the best, like you need a place for them.
Right. Right.
Um, I think there are a lot of girls that maybe think that they fit the wellness mold that have been misguided. So I think as the division evolves, it's okay. People will settle into where they actually belong.
Hmm.
Um, but I love the wellness look. I think it's like feminine. I think it's muscular. I think it's not over the top. And obviously, not everyone agrees, but I love the huge legs, the huge butt, the small waist.
Hmm.
I think it gives a big portion of the world a place to fit into the IFBB and the NPC also, because it's a very Latin body type. So where do they go? Into the divisions that we used to have before that don't necessarily fit a big portion of people.
Sure. And then also, like with some, again, not naming names, but when I was listening some podcasts when this division was coming around, some people almost compared wellness girls to people that do not take dieting seriously. And I took a little step back on that because I was like, you must not be looking at the same women, because some of these wellness girls are just
They're peeled.
shredded. And but
Like if you look, dude, they have quad veins going from like knee to groin.
right,
They have
right.
hamstring veins, adductor veins. They have very dense muscles, but they have like bodybuilder legs. It's
Yeah.
like it's crazy if you think. And I actually loved it because I started seeing a little bit of like that, like the when it first came out. And I don't know why I hear I have like some friends too that they are just so upset that there's wellness and they're like figure girls and stuff. And I'm like, first of all, this pertains 0% to
Right.
you.
You're not even going to
And
fit into
your
that
body
division.
type wouldn't even fit that. So why
Yeah.
are you upset? Like, um, but um, you know, so I think at first there was like there's always shit talking when like a new division comes out. Like when Classic first came out, it's like,
Hmm.
oh, bodybuilders are being like slackers. And yeah, maybe some are, but that's with everything, you know.
Hmm.
There's always gonna be the sandbaggers, but I think because it's a body type thing, the sandbaggers will get like called out real quick because they're just not
Yeah.
gonna fit.
Right.
It shows when you try to take the easy way out, and it shows when you're trying to do the best for you.
Well, it's crazy because it's like if you're a bodybuilder at 280, right? And then let's say you you know, there's someone in classic who's like, I don't know, let's just say randomly like 240. I mean, it doesn't mean that the one that's 240 is not training as hard as the one that's 280. That doesn't make like any sense. It's just a different
The Classic
division,
guys
you
are
know?
funny because some of them impress you. I'm terrible with names, so don't even like hold me to
Oh
this.
no,
But
no worries.
Terrence Ruffin, Rough Diesel, dude, he looks like
Yeah.
huge, and then you actually look at his weight, and it's like surprising, like his proportions. He hangs with the big boys, you know. Like you
Yeah.
said, weight doesn't show very much at all, and it's not indicative. So I don't know, Classic, that phenomenon kind of. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's not indicative on how hard you trained at the gym. That 40 pounds,
Or
the
how you
difference is,
look.
yeah. I mean, you know, there's people that train very, very hard that just are they have a certain structure, and no matter how much weight they push, no matter, what, they're going to have that structure, So, I mean,
I'll
just
never
like
be
we
a
were
string
talking about the
bean. It's like
women.
impossible for me to lose muscle, so it's one of those where it's like everyone has their strengths. Some people are just gonna like, some people train not at all and blow up in the gym, and that's so frustrating for like the people that you said that probably train real hard and don't necessarily look
Yeah.
like it.
See, like I'm in that boat. Like I'm in the boat where I barely like I don't have to train very hard. I do, but I don't have to keep weight on and muscle on.
Same.
My problem is the other aspect of the dieting portion of it. Like losing body fat is much harder for me than for the other people, like
Yes.
so,
Well, I get frustrated too.
pros
I
and
don't know if like you're
cons.
in the same boat, but I've noticed, especially in dieting, like there are people with way less muscle that can eat way more than me, but I don't know, man. My body can survive a famine. Like I just don't need a lot to survive
Hmm.
or to build muscle.
Sure.
And if I eat like some of these bikini girls, I will be a 300-pound whale. Like I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
It's just not in my genetics, and it's not that I have like a poor metabolism by any means. I just don't need a lot to,
Right.
do
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, it's very similar to my type of build, or my metabolism, my flow, whatever you want to call it. So I guess at this point, have you ever like thought about maybe like jumping into wellness? I know you said your arms are too big for that. You ever thought about
You
like just kind of
massaging does not help with the whole
oh,
downsizing situation because
because you're constantly grinding.
yes. So I did I did a couple of pro shows for Women's Physique, and
Hmm.
every time I just kind of came to the realization, every time it got a little more solidified that perhaps it's just not where I belong. I just don't. I don't know that I could ever even get that condition, to be honest. I don't know that any amount of drugs could do that for me, or cardio, and I don't have time. Um,
Yeah,
but it's just not what I want for myself, period. I know when I first started with my new coach, Nelson, I told him, it's funny, I was like, I love Women's Physique. I love the look. Whatever you do in this prep, do not ruin what I want my retirement body to be. And this was before wellness was kind of like a concept for like the IFBB. And I sent him right away, like, Vivi Winkler and Francielle and like all these wellness girls, because they're all
hmm,
like the Brazilian girls. And I was just like,
right.
I love bodybuilding. It's fun. I love competing. And, it's easy to lose sight while you're like deep in a prep of what's better for you. You know what I mean? We
Yeah,
all get so caught up in like balls deep in prep, and it's just like, go, go, go. How could I be better? It's easy to like overlook, ignore, and, it's just a few more weeks of stuff. And yeah, so I told him before we even started, I was like, whatever we do this prep, I don't care. This is what I want after bodybuilding. There is life after bodybuilding,
sure.
and this is my retirement body. So whatever this prep entails, just don't ruin that.
Hmm.
And so I did the prep, went to Tampa, and I just realized, just looking around and seeing myself next to like one of the biggest women's physique lineups, I was just like, I'm not cut out for this. Like, and
Right.
that's fine. It's a big, tough pill to swallow. I was backstage, and you could look at my videos of me pumping up. I was just like, I can't hang, and you
Yeah,
already like signed the contract, you're there, and you can't bail. And nor would I want to. That's like poor sportsman. But you're having all these epiphanies backstage. You're just like,
sure.
okay, I'm not
Sure.
that big. I'm not that lean. I don't know if I can get that lean or if I want to be that
Right.
lean.
Right.
Um, is this the look that I want for myself personally? Like, I admired it on anyone else, but is this what I want for me, long term, short term, etc.?
Right.
So I left, and I called Nelson when I was like driving home, and I was just like, I think I'm kind of done with women's physique for now. Um, I don't know, like wellness. I think structurally I could eventually do it. I love the look. Um, the arms,
Yeah.
the arms are my biggest
Mhm.
thing.
Unless they
And I
change.
refuse. Like, a
Yeah.
lot of people that's like, I like the look, so I think I can do it. I think I can do it eventually. I think I told him, I was like, I'm not going to go on stage with like an in between body type. So
Mhm.
even if I like my look, I like slightly bigger arms on wellness. But to be competitive, I will only compete if I look the part, not halfway. I will, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll just be in retirement with a good body.
Yeah. I mean, well, there's something to be said about just being fit in everyday life, like looking good and being fit and being athletic in everyday life. I mean, not, you know, competitive side of it is fun, I'm sure. But at the same time, it's like how many competitors are actually reaching like success in competing, like a handful at the very top,
Well,
so
here's the thing too. It's a numbers game, and I've said this before, just from like NPC to national shows to pro shows. We all go into it. Everyone gives it their all. How many people leave happy?
yeah,
We
just
get
one.
one winner.
That's it. Just one.
So you invest everything, and that's fine. But it's like, if I'm going to be investing everything, I want to like enjoy the whole process. I want to like how I look, and like I
Mhm.
said, I love bodybuilding as a hobby. So it's just, I'm going to keep doing it. Corona actually did a really good thing for showing me that I'm a bad planner. Okay, so I'm just like a spontaneous, like, oh, it's just like there, I'll do it. But commitments and stuff, they freak me out.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding is one of the only things that I've actually like, I'll plan long term for.
Mhm.
That being said, I also have never really had like body issues. I never had issues with food, and I always have liked how I look because I've always been, even prior to bodybuilding, I was a functional athlete. So to me, even if I was a little softer, it was like, well, I'm strong and I'm functional and I'm
Right.
eating to perform.
Right.
I've always been an athlete first. So um, I never hated how I looked, but I also love prep, how you have like the daily changes, and like I like the tunnel vision. I like how when you're in prep, everything feels very heightened. All your senses are very, like, I call them spidey senses. You get like laser vision, and like your
Mhm.
skin feels like it's alive, and everything's like adrenaline all the time. I like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Um, I Prior to COVID, I didn't think that I would be able to follow through with a strict diet and cardio regimen and not want. I'm not a terrible eater by any means. Even in off season, I'll stick to my plan all the time. But it's like the little things.
Mhm.
Um, and I hate cardio. Anyone that knows me, like, I don't care. Like Nelson says, oh, it's a mindset thing. I hate cardio. I've never liked it. Like, I'm a sprinter. You put me to go like do obstacle courses and
Uh-huh.
sprints, love it. Steady state, blow my brains out. Um, so COVID actually showed me that without a prep, I've been able to really stick to a prep, like a prep like protocol.
Mhm.
I've been able to like stick to my cardio like flawlessly. I did have like a little break the other day, but I had my first cheat meal all quarantine this weekend.
Mhm.
So I've been doing really good. So that was good. Bodybuilding, that it just like solidified that I can do it. I can do like the whole strictness of prep without
Mhm.
having to be in a prep, and that was cool.
How are you training now? Like, do you have something at home, or are you just not really training?
Oh, I'm training, but
You are training.
CrossFit definitely set me up pretty good for that because you could kind of make stuff up with like
Mhm.
very little. So I have like some bands, I have some dumbbells. My roommate was able to borrow like some plates, not very many, so I don't have barbell or anything, but I've just
Mhm.
been, doing leg extensions with like dumbbells, hamstring curls with dumbbells, step ups
Yeah.
with the dumbbells, banded stuff. But it's cool because I feel like you get to really explore your athleticism. My cardio has actually gotten way harder because instead of steady state, I'm like running around the neighborhood and like
Sure. Sure.
doing like stupid shit to be distracted.
I'm trying to. I was looking on Amazon, trying to find a mountain bike so I can start doing that. I was like,
Yeah.
let me do something that I'm gonna like enjoy. I'm gonna
What
get.
about rollerblades? I've been wanting to do that. And then you get like the whole like squat situation.
I'm terrible. Well, so I mean, maybe that'll work for you. I can't rollerblade at all.
Okay, when's the last time you tried?
It's been a while. I can kind of ice skate, but for some reason, rollerblading doesn't like. I don't know. It's the wheels. I think. I'm
I
not
bet if you
sure.
practiced, you might surprise
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah, you're probably right. But yeah, the idea was the mountain bike. I was like, oh, I'm gonna strap a GoPro on top of my helmet and go do these crazy trails and stuff. So we'll see what
So you're
happens.
scared to rollerblade, but you're not scared to go on crazy trails with a mountain bike.
So it's not a matter of fear with the with the rollerblades. It's just like I don't think I could do it. You know what I'm saying? It's like skiing. I can't ski, but I love snowboarding. Like I think it's because my feet are separated. I like when my feet are locked in, somewhere. So
Well, it sounds like you need a skateboard.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, I did when I was younger, but it's been so long, for me.
I'm
So
better on the 2 feet than the skateboard.
yeah, yeah. So maybe you should do that. You should go get yourself
I
some
should actually.
rollerblades.
Maybe I'll Amazon me some skateboard or no roller skates. You get your
Uh-huh.
mountain bike, And then we'll do like
We'll
a
compare
catch-up version
videos.
on extreme cardio
There
sessions.
you go. There you go. I mean, I definitely think it works. Like I think as long as you keep moving, you keep burning. I mean, any kind of cardio is cardio. So I don't think you need necessarily Stairmaster. You need any of that.
No. Well, here's the thing that variety is the spice of life, man. And I think a lot of people get so hung up in their routine. First of all, I think I could speak for just about everyone that even though we all got in our routine and love our routine of the gym, most people have been kind of burnt out for a while. Most
Hmm.
people don't know when to sit it down, and they get so caught up in the same routine, seeing the same people, and just like lollygagging between all their sets and stuff because it's comfortable and familiar.
Right.
I think we took the gym for granted. I
Hmm.
think distance makes the heart grow fonder, and I think everyone being away from the gym too. People were like not even in quarantine yet, and they're already like, "Oh, no gym." I'm like, dude. First of all, you've taken vacations longer than this. Like
Right.
you're just being a drama queen right now.
For sure.
Um, but I do think that like removing yourself and having to come up with like the at-home workouts that a lot of people have,
Hmm.
it's new stimulus to your body. So either way, you're manipulating the muscles that you've been trying to target in new ways with new bands and chains and tempo and focusing on form. It's like bringing people back to the shit that they should have been doing a long time ago.
Right.
And I do think that, you know, the new stimulus for the muscle is going to be good to snap people out of plateaus they may have been in. And then when you go back to the gym, everyone's going to be super enthusiastic. People are going to be well rested, so they're going to hit it hard. And I think that then going back to the training that they were used to, it's going to give their body another reason to respond to the new stimulus, because we respond to
Yeah.
change. Hard is anything new.
Hmm.
And I think anyone could relate. Like I could do a ton of weight for squats, but sometimes you do the right manipulation. You don't need very much weight to like also suffer a lot in
Oh yeah.
other squats. So forcing the stimulus in different ways is just good ways to keep it progressing. And I think a lot of us got kind of stuck in a plateau.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree. Like for speaking for myself, it definitely threw me for a loop and a change. Training at home, I was able to get a couple, like some plates. I did like a little video on my YouTube channel, but like what I have and what I trained like chest with, and it's not a lot compared to what I do at the gym, but when I'm done, I'm exhausted. But and I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if it's because I'm
It's different.
yeah, it's different. And I maybe because I know that I need to push myself, like,
Yep.
hey, I have to push myself or I'm not going to get a good workout in. So it's like, so all those things combined, the difference in training, the mental outlook of where I'm at and knowing that I have to push myself harder. I think overall it really comes together nicely. So I mean, even when the gyms open up, I don't think I'd mind necessarily taking a day and working out at home. It's not,
Dude, I
it's
said
not
the same
bad.
thing. And I've gotten like, I've been talking to my friend Ashlyn out in Texas like every day, and she's still in prep, killing it. Hoping that one of her shows still doesn't get canceled.
Mm,
Um, but we always talk every day, and we're just like, man, like the outside stuff is awesome. Like you really take for granted, first of all, how much you can do outside, how fun it is, and like I said, my cardio
yeah,
outside has been so much harder than like the Stairmaster, for example, and it's just nice.
yeah,
The endorphins are good, and for someone who hates cardio, if I have like an option that I'm enjoying way more, that's way harder. As an
yeah.
athlete, that's just better all around,
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's
So
great.
I'll probably like continue with like the outside cardio a lot of times. I have like a big staircase here in my apartment complex that goes down to the
Hmm.
pool, and the stairs are pretty long, but it's nice because I could do like, I'll just do stairs up there. So it's like
Right.
my invisible stairmaster.
Sure. I mean, sure. And it's like that's the thing. I mean, so I come from like a grappling background, like a wrestling grappling background. And I mean, when I was doing that, I mean, that's all we did, like run outside, run, in the gym, run stairs, like jump rope. And I mean, I would lose ton of weight doing that. So it's,
Mhm.
it's definitely, I think
It's
Stairmasters.
changed the direction in large body movements too. So it's like, and when I coached CrossFit, they always said like the biggest things for body composition were like kettlebell swings are great because it's like a lot of like that hip hinge
Mhm.
action. burpees are good because your body's traveling like a large distance,
Yeah.
so it's a lot of change of direction. Suicides are great because it's just a
Hmm.
lot of, back and forth and stuff,
Right.
but like steady state, it's good. Your heart rate's elevated for like a prolonged period of time, yada, yada. But I just feel like, it doesn't like challenge you necessarily the same
Right.
ways.
The body's meant to move, and it's not meant, and it, like stairmasters and things of that nature are convenient. They're easy. Like you just hop on, you just walk your stairs. Like, they're convenient, they're easy, but they're not
Mindless.
necessarily, yeah, they're not necessarily dynamic. And that's like, and I prefer dynamic. Plus,
Same.
with the
Oh, I'd rather do harder stuff that is distracting any day.
yeah, and we have such good weather coming up. The summer's coming up. Whether Corona is going to be here or not, I mean, I doubt the parks will be completely closed. It's possible, but I doubt it. Um, so you could find some space without too many people around to do whatever you need to do.
At
So
least in a park, you could like dodge people,
right, exactly.
keep a circumference.
Right, keep 6 feet apart. So,
Yeah.
anyways, all right. Well, hey, we did like I think almost an hour. So I
Shit.
appreciate your time. Thanks so much. It was great.
Yeah.
And I hope everything works out for you, like with competing and massaging and everything else you've got going on.
Thank you. I
All
appreciate
right.
you having me.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.
I like your
Well,
shirt. I've been meaning to tell you,
yeah,
big
yeah.
Dunder Miffler fan. Or
Oh
Dunder
yeah,
Mifflin.
Dunder Mifflin. Check these out. Hold on a second before we sign off.
The
I've got
outfits.
I've got Dwight.
Stop, Dwight.
I've got Dwight. I've
You guys
got
bobblehead.
I've got Jem. They all help me with my podcast.
Dude.
We got Michael.
You need to display them so we can all see, because I
I
think
know.
I'm not
I
the
need to find
only
a way to
fan
do it.
along with you.
And I've got Pam. So those are my
Damn.
four.
So you have your own little secretary in the
That's
office.
it. That's it. Sometimes I come in here and I say, Pam, hold my calls, and she doesn't respond. So, but
Does she like make pretend phone calls for you so you look
right.
and feel busier than you are?
Exactly. I was watching the episode where she was like, she said, so she transfers the call to Michael, but she doesn't initially like engage Michael with that person because she's like, he always says like
Oh
weird
yeah,
things the first time.
stupid stuff.
Yeah. So he does better on the second time. So
Yeah, then he like said some like really awkward
yeah.
opener, and then Pam was like, "Okay, I got so and so on the line," and then he said something really like work
Yeah,
appropriate
weird.
at
Yeah,
that point.
that's so funny. Yeah, yeah, that's my go-to show. That
Oh, that's like the
Seinfeld.
background noise at night show for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. Okay. Well, hey, thanks again. Like I said, great having you on. Take care. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.